Years ago has long drawn international condemnation. In July and August of this year, the Indonesian government made a great show of withdrawing 1,000 soldiers from the province. The government said at the time that slightly fewer than 12,000 military personnel remained in East Timor. But the actual figure stood at nearly 18,000 armed force personnel as recently as August, according to confidential Indonesian documents seen by the BBC. The government insists the current figure is much lower, perhaps as low as 3,000. There are also more than 1,000 paramilitary officers in plain clothes under army command. The Indonesian government had previously denied any links with these groups, which have been accused of human rights violations. Correspondent Matt Fry has been to East Timor to gauge the number of troops there.
In East Timor, it's wise to trust only in God and virtually no one else. The churches are packed in this far-flung corner of Catholicism that was for centuries a Portuguese colony. But after 23 years of occupation by Indonesia and its military, fear and suspicion are etched on almost every face. The congested cemeteries provide a clue. There's a suspiciously large number of graves dating back to the late 1970s. As a result of the Indonesian invasion, over 200,000 people were killed by soldiers, disease or hunger. 1/3 of the population, a world record. Felicidade is a civil servant, hence the green uniform. 10 of her relatives have been killed by the military. Several were denounced by government spies for supporting independence. But she and her colleagues have now lost their fear. That's why they spoke to us in their office canteen, not bothering too much why the stranger with the sunglasses was listening in.
Wow, mana bisa.
How could I have talked to you like this 6 months ago? Impossible. Then they could just arrest you, beat you up, or make you disappear. But now we have to seize the moment to fight for our freedom.
It was Felicidade who filmed this recent rally with her video camera. The province's governor had ordered the civil servants to oppose independence, and this was the response. In the past, such a demonstration would have been crushed. But 5 months after Indonesia toppled its dictator, the Timorese also want change. In July, Indonesia withdrew up to 1,000 of its toughest combat troops, a goodwill gesture which the new government had hoped would persuade the Timorese to settle for autonomy rather than independence. The cameras were invited, but for some it was all too good to be true. The same harbour today. It now seems that new troops have been sent in. We came across this boat which had just brought 250 special police officers. Later we saw them on the streets, policemen with balaclavas and automatic rifles, dressed perhaps to crack down once again. But this student leader told us it was too late to stop the momentum for independence.
This is a war. We're talking about the war and the struggle of a nation of people. Yeah, if that will happen, that's the risk. Yeah, no war without sacrifice.
If the political struggle fails, Asia's most secret guerrilla movement is preparing to continue the military one. Many of these East Timorese rebels have been living in the jungle since the invasion. There are no more than 500 of them. They may look like a ragged bunch, but they've killed thousands of Indonesian soldiers. Now they're poised for new offensives. 5 months ago, after the fall of President Suharto, these people here thought that self-determination was finally within their reach. But now it seems that they'll still have to wait a long time. The evidence suggests that the army is building up and not scaling down. And that's because the government in Jakarta fears that if East Timor is allowed to break loose, then other islands in this vast and fragmented country will want to do the same. Matt Fry, BBC News, Dili, East Timor.
A short time ago, I spoke to Indonesia's Foreign Ministry spokesman in Jakarta, Gafar Fadil. I began by putting it to him that his government is being accused of systematically lying about the number of military personnel in East Timor.
Well, I think first of all I'd like to express my regret that Mr. Ramos Horta has used his early opportunity interview with the BBC to launch his dirty campaigns against Indonesia with all sorts of allegations. Well, we think he sounds really a desperate person, trying to convince the world of his misconception of the process of democratization taking place in Indonesia, including in East Timor. It is really unfortunate for us that while Indonesia and Portugal are trying to moving forward on the discussions on the contents of the special status of East Timor, or a wide range of autonomy for that territory, he is showing such kind of attitude.
But you understand why these criticisms are being made. Only last week, your Foreign Minister, Ali Alatas, said that there would be no more combat troops left in the territory of East Timor. Now, this week he's saying, well, there may be a few there. So what is the case?
Exactly right, because as far as we know, that there are only 12,000 troops in East Timor, and most of these troops are territorial troops, which are engaged in civic missions, such as building roads, constructing bridges, and taking part in development projects in the territory. As far as we know, for the last 4 months, there has been quiet in this area. So we don't see why there are so much allegations about what's going on in East